we are getting some interesting answers. Research problem is nothing but we have to find a solution to the objectives. Dr. Arvind and Sneha to find out solutions. Any difficulty that we have to address it in our study to make some solutions out of it. Okay, fine. Any other perspective? It's a difficulty. It's something we have to find a solution. I think it is slightly more than a difficulty. There are some more things are there, like related to particular problem in the relevant field. Okay. So this is a different other perspective. Yeah. Okay. Now the research problem is like what I understand from my perspective as a person who is involved in this kind of training programs and who is actually involved in research work and then also involved in extension activities and others. My perspective about the research problem is like most of you said, something has to be solved. But there is another question comes into our mind, like you want some problem to be solved. Okay, so if you want some problem to be solved, that means that the problem is creating some kind of trouble. It is affecting some people, or it is creating some kind of problem, like some kind of issues. Somebody said it's a difficulty to be addressed. Okay, so that means that if I am doing some research, it is expected that we have to solve the problem based on applying some systematic methodology. Okay, but can anyone agree with that statement that extension research leads to solving the problem? If it is yes, it is okay. If it is no, why we are not trying to solve the problem? Because you are saying like it is a difficulty to be eliminated. So that means that a problem has to be solved. So if a problem has to be solved, then you tell me what kind of problems we are supposed to take. You want something to be solved out of your research. That means that you are trying to do some kind of systematically planned some empirical research. At the end of the research, that problem which was there prior to your research has to be solved. So is it right, or whether extension research is trying to solve the problem? If it is trying to solve the problem, what kind of problems we are trying to solve? So now it is up to you. Please, anybody can speak or type it. Like. What kind of problem we are trying to solve it, and at the end of our research work, and then whether extension research is really addressing the solution to the problem. Anyone? So no interaction. Okay, Sneha, it's like technological, social problems related to the farmers, educational problems, okay, to the farmers, okay. Then anyone else? Vishal Sahu is saying it's education to the farmers. Are in perception of the respondents towards particular studies. Okay. Okay, so let me just come to the point. There are many disciplines in agricultural sciences, like breeding, and then agronomy, pathology, then food technology, then we have even include allied sciences like livestock and then fisheries. Everybody is trying to solve the field level problems. Mostly we talk about the trying to solve the field level problems of farmers. Okay. So everybody, for example, a pathologist will provide solutions for the diseases and the pests, and entomology for the pest, and then food technology will help us in developing some kind of value-added products. Okay. So everybody is trying to address the field problems in some other way. But in extension, our subject in such a way that we are trying to address all the problems in whatever happening in the field by some systematically implementing some kind of programs or some kind of projects in the grassroots level. So while implementing that project, that may be a kind of technological interventions, like somebody said earlier, like you give some improved varieties to the farmers. Then farmers will initially will go for frontline demonstrations. Then after frontline demonstration, we will give some planting materials or seeds so that the particular variety is adopted. So that means that the yield problem, that there is a problem of a low yield of the existing local cultivars. We replace the local cultivars with the high yielding varieties. So we intervened there. We made a technological intervention there. We conducted some frontline demonstrations. From there, we also supplied some planting materials or seeds so that the area of the particular improved variety at the end of the project, or maybe after a couple of years or after 5 years of the project, is increased. So technological intervention, you make it. While doing it, in between the technological intervention, you are also putting some educational component there, because when you are implementing your frontline demonstrations, you will be conducting some awareness programs. So that is an educational intervention. And again, at the end of the awareness program, you will again take some kind of pre-test or post-test. And then finally, you will give some planting material. You will create some seed farmers and you will give some planting material. So that means that technological interventions, they involve all kind of other interventions. One is normally what we do in our project is, if we want to promote some improved varieties to the farmers, we conduct a frontline demonstration at the initial stages. We go to farmers, we conduct some baseline survey. We design the frontline demonstrations of the improved varieties. We select the farmers for doing these frontline demonstrations. We also give some kind of critical inputs to them, and we also give some money for labor and other things. And again, we are also giving some educational programs. So it is that when you are promoting some kind of technology, you need a technological intervention, you need a kind of educational intervention, you need the economic interventions as well. So everything is combined together. At the end of 5 years or 6 years, you are trying to see that whether this problem, the area under the particular variety is increased or not, or whether the farmer's income is doubled or not. So in this case, this is a kind of multidisciplinary perspective. You are trying to solve the problem of the farmer. But as an extension scientist, as an extension person, you are working with a multidisciplinary team, because there will be a lot of breeders will be there in your team, and then economists will be there in your team, pathology, entomology, all these people will be there. When you are involved in such kind of technological intervention where you are trying to address the problem, your role has to be clearly defined. What is the role of an extension scientist in promoting or transferring the technology? There will be some programs where you are trying to make the empowerment of the rural women. So you are identifying a group of women and you are forming a self-help group. There you are teaching them how to prepare some kind of value-added products, how you are making your value-added products. Then you are trying to help them in opening a bank account, that is microfinance. Then that is a kind of a value addition intervention. So in that value addition intervention, that the post-harvest technology plays a major role. But what is your role there? Okay, so this is all these cases wherever you are going for a technology, intervention, or you are going for a multiple kind of intervention, your role is very clearly defined. That means that you are trying to do some kind of research where the problem which is related to the extension science will be addressed. So you are not trying to increase the farmer's income, or you are not trying to increase the by simply educating. Simply education to the farmers will never produce any yield. You have to integrate your expertise with the multidisciplinary people. Like you have to give the variety, you have to give some value-added products, you have to form a group. Your role is, when you are going to a field, your role is very clear. You have to help the people in doing the baseline survey, you have to do education like a training programs, arrange the training programs, and also design the training program, conduct pre-test and post-test. And again, you try to see that whether the knowledge level is increased or not. Then you are try assess some impact assessment, some survey, monitoring and evaluation. All the courses you are studying in your MSc level. Planning course in the planning and the communication course you are doing, you have to implement everything in a multidisciplinary team there. Okay, so there the research problem, when you are conducting some kind of research in that kind of situation, the research problem is maybe multiple kind of problems. One problem is like a lack of knowledge about the improved varieties among the farmers in this particular region. So that means that the lack of knowledge, that means that by giving some awareness training program, you are trying to increase the knowledge of the farmers. And again, you are taking them to the frontline demonstration field. You are showing them that how the variety is performing, how the variety is being cultivated, improved variety is being cultivated there. That means that you are doing classroom sessions. You are taking, that is, you are taking the farmers to the field trip. You are doing some kind of field day. You are trying to increase the knowledge of the farmers. At the same time, if you are looking at the machinery, farm machinery, if you are looking at the farm machinery kind of some intervention or some value addition intervention, you are trying to address the skill issues. Like the farmers are not having the skill for producing the particular product prior to the project, you are trying to, by intervening something, you are trying to increase the skill level from this level to this level. So that means that you are trying to address a multiple kind of problems in the field level, in field intervention. Sometimes some people may be doing research on that when some new variety is going to be implemented, or some GMO crop is going to be introduced in a village, or some climate resilient variety, like stress tolerant varieties we are promoting it in the recent times. So when you are, and again, when you are promoting such kind of new varieties, which is farmers are not aware of it, or climate resilient technologies, we are talking about like a different management practices, which has some, which will build the capacity of the farmers to withstand the shocks of the climate change. So in those conditions, you have to educate the people about the technology, and you have to make sure that the farmers are able to use this technology in a proper way. And also you have to try to assess your impact and other things. But other than that, there will be a lot of other works will be involved, like a biological scientist will be doing. They will be coming and they will be explaining the varieties and technologies, because they are the people. If farmer asks some questions, they will be able to provide the clear-cut answer to them. So in a multidisciplinary case, extension problem is either to empower the people through some kind of technological interventions, or else your research problem may be to assess the adoption of the particular variety after completion of the program, or your problem may be increasing the awareness level, increasing the knowledge level of the farmers about this particular technology, or you have to, sometimes there may be some broader problems will be there, like the current level of food security means like the people are not getting adequate and quality food throughout the year. So using some home garden or using some kind of intervention, you are trying to give the food security to the farmers. Then we talk about livelihood security. So there are different kind of extension interventions, a kind of technological interventions, which will be having some problem. That problem may be multidisciplinary, but you have to identify your own role in that problem, and you are trying to design a kind of program or some intervention or some research work, so that you will be addressing the your research problem. Okay, so this is one aspect. And when you are coming to academic institutions, the research problems are often academic institutions as well as in ICAR institutions. Like research problems are already predetermined, mostly predetermined, because especially in our system, in ICAR system and others, the research advisory committee, there is a research advisory committee, and QRT teams are there. Like once in 10 years, they review our work. Quinquennial review team, QRT team, and then research advisory committees are there. Then there are other central government committees which they prescribe some kind of research areas. This is the research area you have to work. So this is a research problem you have to work. Yeah, almost like 70 to 80 times the research problem is coming from top. So you have to work on those kind of research problem in this ICR institutions. But in your case, like in the universities, the research problem is mostly coming from your research advisors or guides. So they say that this is because that research advisor or guide is assigning the problems to the student, because university may be asking some data, some kind of information from the extension department, or maybe the professor wants to do venture into new kind of research areas, or maybe that department, there may be some program which is already running in the particular region, so that the professor wants to the student to conduct research on that. So this is the different source of the research problem where you will be facing in your academic institutions. But there are most of the times, and again, in an MSc level, the research problem is like you have to get accustomed to conducting research. So that means that most of the times the problem will be assigned based on already conducted areas with some additional things. Like you are trying to practice, you are trying to learn research methodology as I'll say that from toddler level to the baby, or maybe up to that. Like it's like a child, you have to learn how to do kind of research in the masters. But in the PhD level, it is really expected that you have to spend sufficient time in doing the research. And again, you are trying to do some kind of quality research where you will produce some good quality papers, so that some awards are there, like a Jawaharlal Nehru Award, and those things are there at the PhD level. So this is the kind of identification of the research problem which is happening in the ICAR institutions or in the academic setup. Sometimes people will be working in the KVKs. Like a KVKs, they will be implementing so many technology refinement programs, assessment programs, and technology popularization programs. So out of which, and most of the times in KVKs, they try to do some kind of impact assessment study. Like they say that this much of money was spent for promoting this particular variety or this particular crop or this particular livestock breed. Like we want to say that the research managers who are like a director research, or maybe the dean research, or the vice chancellor may be interested to know that the extent of reach of adoption of our technologies, so that he will be able to convince the minister, like this much area adoption is there. This is the return of our investment in research, and this is the return from extension activities. So that government has given us this much money. By using this money, we produced this many number of varieties. That varieties are popularized through KVKs, and this is the reach of the variety. This is the adoption of the variety. By using this variety, this is the income the farmers received. Like nowadays, we are trying to address the government's priorities. Like we are asked to work on the areas of the central government's policies, like doubling the farmers' income, more crop per drop program, soil health cards, and then agri-clinic kind of research scheme for entrepreneurship development, and this Mera Gaon, Mera Gaurav kind of schemes. Okay, the central government has some kind of research priorities. They are saying like how the research the central government's research policies are implemented through the universities and agricultural other agricultural colleges, and as well as the ICAR institution. In fact, ICAR institution, they are asking the reports. Like they identified aspirational districts, the central government, how much of the research programs are implemented, and what kind of problems you try to solve in the aspirational districts. Because I have a project on Northeastern Hills, and we have a specific mandate that I have to conduct my research program only in those aspirational districts. And again, I have the MGMG also, we have a village adoption scheme. So everybody now we are trying to translate the government agricultural policy into our kind of system. So the kind of research problems what we are getting now is a multidisciplinary research problem. The kind of research problem which you might have seen in your extension journals in India, they are slowly fading away. That we are, for so many years, we have been doing research on extension itself, like a knowledge gain, perception, attitude, adoption, a kind of pure extension oriented research problems. Nowadays, we are moving slowly into the multidisciplinary research problem where you are trying to apply your program planning skills, you are trying to apply your communication skills, you are trying to apply your training, organizing skills, everything which you learned from your MSc and PhD into the practical terms. Means you have to integrate those things into the current program of our institutions where several other discipline scientists are also involved. So that means that we are slowly moving into multidisciplinary kind of research problems. And I mean to say that most of my research work from beginning in CTCRI, it is actually integrated into the tuber crops. You have not seen me much papers on exclusive extension research. I have not done much research on exclusive extension research. You have to integrate your extension research and other skills into the multidisciplinary team. So this is going to be the future. I will suggest you, like as a MSc and PhD students, you have to focus your research problem into a kind of multidisciplinary. I can give some examples of the multidisciplinary research problems from my work. Like we have, when I was working in Bhubaneswar, some of the one post-harvest technology scientist, he was preparing some sweet potato based products like a sweet potato curd, no, mishti dahi, like a sweet curd. And then he also prepared some sweet potato lacto pickle. Lacto pickle means the pickle stored in water. Okay, so those kind of products he was preparing, and he wanted to test the consumer acceptability of the work. So what the work assigned to me was, like, he requested me, like, you try to do some sensory evaluation. Then I told I am an extension scientist. No, you be a part of our team and you do some sensory evaluation. So I attended a training program in CFTRI. I will tell you, sensory evaluation is not a biological science. Sensory evaluation is a psychology. It is more related to extension. I went to CFTRI long back, 15 years back. I attended the training program, how to conduct the sensory evaluation of the value-added products with the farmers and the other people. So using that method, so we have published some good papers. We have published some about 8 international papers by learning some sensory evaluation. It is a multidisciplinary paper, out of which 3 papers are exclusively focusing on sensory evaluation, where I am the first author. Like, we published in more than 8 international journals. So that is one aspect which we are working in. And again, the second one is, we try to identify some of the varietal attributes preferred by the farmers, and at the same time you have to quantify. Suppose because many farmers are, especially the vegetable growers, they are purchasing seeds from outside. They are, most of the seeds, if you see the vegetables and other things, the private companies are dominating. The varieties are released by the private companies. So farmers pay a lot of money in purchasing those seeds. So we try to see that how much of money a farmer will pay for a particular attribute of the seed, like a seed attribute. One attribute is, I will say that high yielding is one seed attribute, variety attribute. Second one is disease tolerance and pest tolerance or disease resistance, or maybe some varieties may be having a high tolerant to salinity or water scarcity. They can survive well in water. These are the different varietal attributes. Normally, we used to do this in our PRA, matrix ranking. Now, when you learn matrix ranking, we used to identify why some varieties are preferred, what are the different attributes which are responsible for preferring this particular variety. So we have done some little bit more. Like, if somebody wants to pay 20 rupees for the seed material, out of 20, how many rupees that person is paying for the disease resistance? How many rupees that person is paying for the high yielding? So this kind of that we used conjoint analysis there. So that the paper we already a part of the paper was presented in one conference, and one paper it will be published in this month. Okay, this month in one journal. So that means that we are a part of a system where we try to integrate our expertise. Like, my expertise is working with the farmers and use some ranking techniques and other experimental research, other techniques. No, from extension, I try to integrate with the variety so that we could publish a very good international papers out of that work. So you have to identify a kind of research problem, then you have to identify, integrate this into your you have to integrate your extension research skills or extension skills into it to try to solve the problem. Okay. So now let us come directly to the different elements of the research problem, which you are going to state in your problem statement. One is your research topic and the research problem, justification and importance of the research problem, deficiencies in the evidence, and the audience who will benefit from the study of the problem. I am talking about in multidisciplinary work, I am trying to focus on my research problem. Like as an extension scientist, what I am supposed to work. Okay. So research elements of a research problem means, already I explained about the 5 different elements. There are some components of these elements. Research topic statements. There is a concept called narrative hooks. How to write a research topic statement. There is a narrative hook method is there. Second one is, because that is all 5 elements which I am saying is, it is a part of your problem statement. In introduction chapter, you used to write in a general overview about the problem. What is the current status of the global level? What is the current status of your research topic in the national level and the regional level? And you will be coming to the research problem statement. So these 5 elements will be there in the research problem statement in the chapter number 1, introduction chapter of your thesis. So the first 2-3 sentences in research problem statement, you have to use narrative hooks. How it will be used, I will just explain you. Narrative hooks has 4 different elements: data element, question element, need element, and then intended purpose element that we will see later. And then the research problem identified. Somebody said the difficulty. Difficulty is one of the elements in research problem. But there are 4 elements in the research problem. One is a gap, knowledge gap, skill gap, technological gap, extension gap. So many other gap will be there. Now, for example, your university has implemented, promoted some rice variety in Maharashtra. Okay, that now your HOD wants to know that how much of the adoption happened because of the intervention program. But you don't have that information. At present, you don't have the information. That means that you have to identify. That means that the current and you have to identify that information is not available. Okay, that is unanswered question. Means what is the extent of adoption of a particular variety as a part of as a result of an extension program. That means that this is the question asked by your HOD, but there is no answer for that question. So you have to devise a plan. You have to conduct some kind of research. You have to identify a research. This is the research problem. You are trying to answer the question of your HOD by implementing some adoption study, like by using some adoption coefficient or adoption index or whatever the method you are doing it. At the end of your research work, you will be identifying the percentage of the adoption or the level of adoption or the degree of adoption of the particular rice variety. That will be informed to the HOD that, sir, this particular district, this is the current level of the adoption of the particular this variety, which is the question you are asked. So this is one element of the research problem. Second one is, you are going to a field and you identified that the farmers are not having any idea, any knowledge about the particular variety. Okay, that university has promoted this variety for 5 years, but still some villages or some areas, farmers don't have any knowledge about the particular variety. So you are deciding that you are conducting a training program, so that means that the knowledge is not there, means there is a gap. So we are expecting the farmer should have a very good knowledge about the particular variety, but he is ignorant or only limited knowledge is available with the farmer. So you are trying to bridge the gap in the knowledge gap, skill gap, and sometimes yield gap. Everything you are trying to bridge it. You are going there and conducting a training program. You are doing some pre and post test. So you are identifying that at the end of the training program, the farmer's knowledge level is increased. So the knowledge gap is reduced. So you are giving a report to your guide or your superior that by doing some kind of extension activity, I reduce the knowledge gap to a greater extent by 20% or 30% or 40%. Okay, this is one element of the research problem. The other one is a condition to improve. So current level, you are going there, there is a nutritional deficiency in the village. There is a nutrition. The people are not aware about the improved nutritional practices for the children, babies. So that means that the children who are above less than 5 years or the children from 1 to 10 years, they don't have any, you identified that they are malnourished. Okay, so that means that first of all, you have to tell them that you have to follow some kind of healthy practices. That means that they can go to, suppose if there is a deficiency, they can send their children to Anganwadi. That is one solution. Another solution is they can grow nutritional garden in their backyard so that the nutrition deficiency will be reduced. So that means that you are trying to improve a condition from a bad to a good condition. So you are going there and you are seeing the current level of adoption of the nutritional garden, and you are taking your horticulture scientist and arranging some training program. So the knowledge of the nutritional garden and the nutritional deficiencies prior to the training, after the training program, then you are giving some planting materials or seeds to them. So they are planting it. So that means that earlier then you do some nutritional assessment survey after 2 years or 3 years. Prior to that intervention, this is the current, the earlier level of RDA, means recommended dietary allowances, that this much gap was there between the ideal RDA and the actual RDA. After the intervention, the RDA level, the gap is reduced, and again, the condition was worst in case of the malnutrition. Now the condition is much improved. That means that you are trying to improve the condition of the people by making some kind of intervention in the field. And by using some systematic data, you are systematically collecting the data, and then you, based on that, you are making some analysis, and you are trying to identify that prior condition, current condition. So the condition is improved or not. Okay. Then again, the thing is a difficulty to be eliminated. So that your university wants to promote some improved variety, but there are some laggards are there. Laggards means they don't accept any kind of variety, or they are laggards not because of their genetical makeup. They are laggards because they may not have some idea, any information about that particular variety, or they may be satisfied with their own variety. So that means that this difficulty to be eliminated means you have to make these people to adopt your technology. So what you will do is there, you will go there, you will identify that why these people are not adopting my technology, our university technology. So then you identify these are all the reasons why the people are not adopting. Like you are doing some attitude survey, you are doing some perception survey, you are doing some knowledge level, knowledge test. Then you say that the people don't have a good positive attitude towards the university technology. Okay, so how will you change it? So you make some kind of extension program there, some training program or some awareness program. You bring all your university faculty there, that relevant faculty there, and you make a discussion between farmers and faculty so that the negative attitude towards the university technologies will be reduced. That means that university will have no difficulty in reaching to the people who are earlier laggards. Now they are ready to accept it. So these are all the ways like a research problems will manifest. A research problem may be a gap, maybe a condition to be improved upon, maybe a difficulty to be eliminated, or maybe an unanswered question which requires answer. So these are the different dimensions of the research problem there. Especially the second, first you will be using the narrative hooks. Second, you will identify you will explain the research problem. Third one is you have to justify why that problem is very important for you and for the university as well. So you have to say that the farmers' non-adoption of the released varieties is a problem for the university, because so much of money was spent in developing the variety, and if farmers are not adopting it, that means that there is a problem. So you have to, this problem has to be solved by my research program. through my research program. So that maybe you can give from your personal experience or some suggestions from some senior most some celebrities or senior officials from your universities. Okay, this particular region, the adoption is very poor. There must be some extension research or extension intervention has to be done in this village so that the adoption will be improved after a period of time. Okay, this is what some justification or some recommendations you have to justify why you are taking up the research problem for your research work. You have to explain it very clearly. Then you have to say that, most of the research problems will have a solution. Okay, from previous literature, if you read it, and somebody might have developed a proper methodology, or somebody might have developed a concept, which may be, or somebody might have developed a procedure, or somebody might have developed a modality of an extension intervention which can solve your problem. But why you are doing research? Somebody has already identified. So if you want to increase the knowledge of this level from this level, you have to use this method. But what is your role there? Then that means that you can extend the knowledge developed by the previous research, or you can simply replicate whatever happened in the previous research. You are replicating in your place. Replication may be of different levels. Foreign country, some research was conducted, you are replicating here. Or maybe some research was conducted in some other university, you are replicating here. Or this same kind of research was conducted 10 years ago, you are replicating here. So one of the examples which I suggest you, I will tell you. So in our institute, we used to conduct the adoption studies. Okay, for this particular time period, some scientists doing the adoption study. So after 5 years, the adoption levels will be changing in the villages or in the districts or in the states. So that means that you have to replicate the same study after 5 years, after 10 years, after 15 years, so that you can see that what is the changes in the adoption over a period of time and why the particular crop adoption is reduced or the adoption is increased or no adoption has come. So all the reasons you will be able to explain. The same kind of work can be done at different time periods so that you can replicate across the time, replicate across the states, replicate across the universities, replicate across the countries. And sometimes somebody, your seniors or somebody might have conducted some research and published a paper, and in suggestions for improvement, there they might have told something. So this research work has to be extended. This data was collected only with the 200 participants. You have to get more confidence on the research findings, my research finding. Another 200, 300 samples are required. Somebody can do in a previous, my junior or anybody can do with additional samples so that whatever the findings which I suggested will be justified or maybe improved upon. So that you can do like this to explore further or to add something. Like somebody has identified the communication behavior of the tribals who are living in Bastar. Okay, then you have to conduct some research now that only some tribes he has covered. Now I am covering the other tribes in Bastar. Okay, so such kind of things can be done as a part of your research work. But you have to explain after third or fourth or fifth paragraph in your research statement, problem statement, you have to give the evidences. And who will be benefited from your work? The audience. Finally, your research problem should end that my research work will help my research managers to justify the investment made in the extension program for promoting this particular technology. Or else you can say that as a part of my research, at the end of my research work, the farmers will be getting more access to the variety of foods, because when you are going for a nutritional garden, at the end of my research, farmers will be getting access to the variety of nutritional foods like fruits and vegetables, so that which were not there earlier. So like this, who will be benefited out of your research, you have to explain it. Now, the first statement I am giving just a summary kind of thing. It is a broad subject matter of the study. Initial first 1 or 2 statements. in a research problem in the template. So we can use the narrative hooks. What exactly is the narrative hook? It's a journalistic way of writing an opening sentence of a story that hooks or captures the reader's attention and compels them to read the rest of the story. So what happens, you can see some of the narrative hooks you can see. Only 40% of the agricultural technology is generated or adopted by the farmers. So you are starting with the data. First sentence or first or second sentence in your research problem statement that out of the technologies developed in Maharashtra, only 40% of the technologies, agricultural technologies were adopted by the farmers. You are ending with the reference. That means that you are starting with some data. So that is called significant statistical data related to the problem. This is one of the narrative hook, type number one. Narrative hook number one is significant statistical data related to the problem. Narrative hook number two, second type is a provocative question. Why do farmers commit suicide when the government has so many farmer-friendly policies? So you are asking a question and to provoke the readers. Why people are committing suicide when everything is already there? Government is providing so much of support. Why in Vidarbha farmers are making suicide? There are so many government programs are implemented and the government is giving crop insurance is being done effectively. And why still some farmers are committing suicide? Why they are doing it? So that means that you are doing your research work on the farmers' distress and other suicide conditions. And the third one is you can start either the third narrative hook is a clear need for research. You start with the sentence in your problem statement. Climate change and its effects on agriculture is increasingly attracting the attention of the extension researchers. You can start with that sentence either, or else you can simply say that my intention of the research work is to measure the adoption of the integrated pest management practices in mealybugs in papaya. Something like this. You can start the purpose of the research work. This is also one way of doing your some research problem statement. This is the first sentence. I told the first paragraph, maybe a 2 or 3 sentences or 4 sentences, and you can use the gap. You can use any kind of narrative hook. You can use statistical data, or you can use any question, or you can use any kind of statement, or you can simply state the purpose. Okay. So the second paragraph in the problem statement is it's a research problem. You actually describe the research problem. It's a research problem is nothing but a precise statement about the concern which needs a systematic and empirical investigation. So all the problems are not research problems. So when you are doing PRA with the farmers, so there will be so many problems farmers will tell. Credit is not available. Bank is not providing money. There is a water scarcity. And there is a problem of rats, or there is a problem of we are not getting the regular market price. There may be so many problems that farmers might have suggested. But all research problems cannot be solved through extension research. Somewhere the farmers told that we are not knowing about improved varieties at all. So that means that is an extension problem. So you can do research on that. You can do, and sometimes the farmers will say that I will not accept this technology because this technology is not profitable. Okay, then that means that the farmers are having a negative attitude towards your technologies. Or sometimes they will say that our culture does not permit this. Like a small farm, one example is like traditionally we say that every religion has some kind of food restrictions. You cannot promote the technology, that has to be consistent with your religion. Okay, and again there are sometimes the technologies may not be accepted by the farmer because it will be very expensive for them to use it. Like a Kadaknath. Kadaknath is not for the small farmers who are having a less per capita income, because Kadaknath can be done if it is grown in a commercial farm. There will be, because investment is required. Many times there is an investment is required for the technologies. Okay, so these are all the things you have to the problem you have to select only where your expertise will be solved. Like especially in case of your MSc and PhD academic research work, if you are selecting some kind of multidisciplinary problems, you are going to face so many issues. Unless and until if it is a part of a current program, if a university is implementing some field intervention program where other scientists also involved, then you can go and do your work related to your work, and so that it will be easier. Otherwise, if you take some kind of problem which also require the contribution of the other scientists, like other discipline scientists, then you are going to be in trouble. So you have to choose the better way especially at the MSc level. You choose some kind of problem which is more related to extension, and at the PhD level, you try to go for a multidisciplinary problems. Like you can select the people from different disciplines. There is no restriction that your advisory committee members should be all extension or economics or such statistics. No, you may have advisory committee members based on your expertise, your area. So if you want to do some work on vegetables, you select some vegetable science person. Entomology means entomology person, you select it. So that you will be having that person will be able to help you out in integrating that entomology knowledge into your research work. So you can select a multidisciplinary kind of thing. Okay, what exactly the research problem? I already explained it. So there is a gap in knowledge or skill or practice. That the information about the impact of high yielding variety of rice is not available. For one example, a condition to be improved upon, the enhancing the knowledge of the farmers through training program or action research. A difficulty to be eliminated. Farmers are resisting the GMO crops. So what you are supposed to do is, you as an extension science person, you go and measure the attitude of the farmers, and again you see that what is the awareness about the GMO. Because most of the times when people are not adopting, or when people are resisting, when people are having a negative attitude towards some technology or somebody, 95% times that may be due to ignorance. They may not be aware of completely about the resistance to GMO. You have to go and teach them that what is GMO crop and what benefits you are going to get it, and there may be some negative points. Okay, how to eliminate those negative points? So all these things you have to educate the farmer. So you see that knowledge level from beginning to end, or there you use some kind of advanced methodology there, and then you submit your PhD research work. Okay, like that, a difficulty to be eliminated means at the end of your PhD research work, you will be having sufficient information about why farmers are resisting GMO crop. Whether it is because of the poor knowledge or lack of awareness, or due to some other reason, so social taboos or any kind of things are there, all the information will be there in your PhD thesis. That information can be used by your HOD as well as for your dean or your director research, so that they will go and conduct some kind of a training program, so that the resistance will be neutralized or resistance will be reduced towards some kind of technology. Okay, then again some unanswered question. I already told there are some when you are conducting a training program, that learning styles play a major role. Whether the role of learning styles in improving the comprehension of the information provided in the multimedia training module. This is also one unanswered question. You do some experiment. For this, you need an experimental research design. So these are the different elements of a research problem. A gap, a condition to be improved upon, a difficulty to be eliminated, answering an unanswered question. These four are the gaps which are there, which has to be addressed through your research work. And the fourth or fifth paragraph, then you have to tell why you are taking up the research problem. Why? Whether it is contributing to something, what kind of contribution your research is going to make it. Who told you to do this? Whether you are taken on what is the source from where you have made you to choose this particular problem. So there are so many other things you can tell from your personal experiences. Like I have visited when I was working in KVK, or when I was working as a SRF, when I was going to my place, I traveled to so many villages, I interacted with them. I identified that the people are not getting the seeds of the improved variety. or they are not having even awareness about the improved variety, or else you can tell that the experiences of the others, or you can say that experiences in your university, or else from previous research works, why you are taking up this work. And sometimes, in most of the times, I already told you at the beginning, the research problems are decided based on the top level. Like the university vice chancellor may want to know something, our dean wants to know something, our government wants to know something, our state government, agriculture department wants to know something, or central government wants to know something. So you are translating those into our research problems. So those things you have to mention in the third section. That means that if you assume that there are 2 paragraphs in each and every section, so it will be in the your 5th and 6th paragraph. You have to write this. And the 4th line, that after writing about the sources, so you have to tell that why I have to take this problem, because previous research is inadequate. One thing you can say, or else the previous research has done up to this level, I want to extend this beyond this. Okay, or else this I can replicate this work. I want to do this work because this work was conducted in USA, or this work was conducted by TNAU. It has produced very good results. I want to replicate the same thing in Maharashtra conditions. Or else you can say that I want to explore more about this new knowledge about what are the factors which are governing the adoption of the varieties, or what are the factors which are determining the success of the FPO or a self-help group, or what are the factors which determine the success of the startup or the entrepreneurship. So then you can also think about to know that what is the career aspirations of the BSc students. I want to explore it, whether how much percentage of the people are going for a government job and how many are interested to venture into entrepreneurship. So these are all the things which you have to say that previous research work is conducted only up to this. I want to take it further, or I want to explore more, or I want to replicate the work conducted in other universities or other places. This you have to write in 2 or 3 paragraphs. And finally, you have to say that my research work finding will be helping to these people, the target group, and you can simply say that as a part of my research work, the adoption level of the variety will be identified. So this is going to help the university to justify the investment made in the development of the variety, or else this research will help in gaining the knowledge. Like I have done some hypothesis testing and other things. So I have gained some knowledge about what are all the factors which determine the adoption of the particular variety by a specific target group of the farmers, or what are the factors which determine the success of the self-help group or farmer producer organizations, and then what are the factors, or something like this. You can gain knowledge also. At the same time, you will identify some kind of data. That data will be very useful for the extension managers or researchers. So this is where you have to end your problem statement. So if you say that the problem statement is about 10 paragraphs, so you make two paragraphs each for each and every element. Like that, accordingly, based on depending upon nature of your work, depending upon the size of the thesis which is prescribed by your university, you can prepare the problem statement. So one problem statement I used to show in most of the training programs. It is about my PhD work, because we have done a lot of other problem statements in my institutions, which I am not showing because there are data protection mechanisms are there. I cannot share the data with others. Okay. So one is factors influencing the computer behavior of the extension agents. Computer use behavior. Suppose if a person in extension agent, computer is given. Okay, on purpose, you will be using the computer. Whether you will be using only for your personal communication, email communication, or you will be using it for carrying out the extension activities. What kind of extension activities will be carried out in a KVK or in a research institutions? One is sending emails or sending WhatsApp messages to the farmers, or planning an extension programs. You will be developing an Excel sheet, no? So initially you will put the cost banner, this much rupees. Then you will write that food for 50 farmers, 200 rupees per head. This is the food. So you take the total. So you are doing some kind of planning activity there. So then again, the third one is, other one is you will be designing some folders using computers. And again, you will be creating some kind of databases about the farmers, a directory of the farmers in the village. So these are the different things you will be doing in your computer. But now the problem here is, yeah, extension manager wants to invest so much of money in purchasing the individual computers, that too laptops, to the extension agents in the KVK or in the SMS in the KVK or extension personnel in the state agriculture department, because a lot of money is required for giving the individual laptop or individual computer. So naturally that person wants to know that whether it will be used properly or not. So that's why the research problem is designed. The topic you have seen, I have started with the data. That narrative hook number 1, Indian extension system is comprised of over 5,000. Now it is increased. It is about more than 10,000. Extension professional making is one of the largest in the world. With increasing population, the extension intensity of the intensity of the extension contact is drastically reduced. Integrating computers into extension work will help to improve the contact intensity, because contact intensity means the number of farmers served by one extension agent. So, currently, in different regions, like a Dalwai committee has identified some ideal levels. It is about minimum 1:500. It's a minimum level they are saying, but we don't have that much extension agents. And the second one is, it is actually the statement about the research problem. Since computerization of extension officers is an expensive affair, there is a need to understand the computer use behavior of the extension workers. So that means that we have to see that whether this will be really used by the extension workers or not in the future. Okay. The evidence for justifying the research problem, I have given based on some previous research study. Deficiencies in the evidence. In view of the depth of the past studies in the aspect, there is a need to conduct the research investigation to assess the factors influencing the computer use behavior of the extension personnel. And finally, this data, whatever I'm going to generate, will be used by the extension managers or the any research planners in a research institution. So sorry, in an extension institution. So this is the implication of your study. So you have to make sure that all the 5 components are there in your research problem statement, and you can see that each and every component, different elements I told. Like in research problem, it is condition to be improved upon. In case of topic, there are narrative hooks, data narrative hooks, or provocative questions, or the purpose kind of narrative hook, and what are the different evidences you can tell. And again, what are the different deficiencies and who will be the potential users. You can please use this template for writing your research problem statement. This will be more comprehensive way, because this this template was suggested by Creswell, which is mostly used in psychology, sociology, and other areas. But in extension also lately, our students are using it. You please try to use this kind of template so that you will be getting a very comprehensive kind of a research problem, so that nothing will be missed. When your external examiner or anybody is reading it, it will be a more comprehensive way of presenting the research problem. So there is no need to worry much about it, because if you are able to impress your external examiner in the first chapter itself, so you don't have to bother much, because the rest of the things will be taken care of. Though methodology is very important, but your presentation of the research problem is very, very important, which is the heart of your research work. So with this, I will close this research problem statement. Any questions? Any questions at this? So we have more than 65 participants. No questions? Okay, I think there are few questions here. Shampi Das, I if I do research work in digital finance, where I will collect the facts and figures both for quantitative data, then what type of research study it will be? Will it be exploratory, descriptive, or analytical? Okay. Number one, you just see your research problem. Digital finance is an emerging area. Like you are trying to integrate the ICTs into the financing. Or maybe like, can you just explain it? What I understood from here is digital finance. From my understanding is you are trying to use some ICTs for financing, or you are trying to finance the purchase and use of ICTs. Can you explain, Shompi Das? So if you are not able to talk, you please type it. But I will suggest you that you are, if you are venturing into some new areas of research problem, predominantly it will be exploratory, descriptive, and I think you know about the research goals, no? 5 research goals: description, exploration, explanation, prediction, and application. Because these are the 5 research goals in any our social science research. If you are venturing into a new area where very little information is available from previous literature, you will be predominantly going into simple description and exploration. You will be going to explanation and prediction only when you have sufficient number of papers published in your previous work. Like from anywhere, from India or somewhere, if you have sufficient number of papers published using some kind of like explanation, because there is a simple way to identify the nature of your research goal. Simple description kind of research is, if you take a paper, there only mean, mode, and then some tables, some classification, some rank. Only those information will be there in the whole paper. So that means that the whole paper is, they have used some descriptive designs. And then in exploratory design, there will be the descriptive kind of information. Apart from this, there may be some qualitative data, qualitative focus group discussion data, or some other data. They are all coming into the exploration kind of research designs, exploration kind of designs. And if you see any kind of correlation, regression, hypothesis testing, chi-square kind of things, no, that is, they are going into explanatory kind of research designs. Okay, then if you want to see the prediction, if you want to say that my work involves prediction, means you might have gone for multiple regression, and then advanced forms of econometric regression, and then structural equation modeling, and other multivariate decision making techniques like analytical hierarchy process. If you see the paper, no, those things are described, means they have gone up to the prediction level of the research goal. If it is only up to correlation, it is only explanation. And again, if they are correlation, means correlation and t-test and f-test, all these things, ANOVA, they are all coming under explanation. And again, if it is only up to some descriptive studies, like a mean, mode, and a classification, in some tables are there, more statistical analysis is involved, it is up to exploration, description and exploration. So based on your research, somebody's previous research paper, you can identify that what level of research designs they have used it. Then based on that, you can choose, because we are mostly selecting our research methodology, everything, no, based on our previously published works, as well as from some expert opinion. So you will get some understanding. Based on that, you choose what kind of research design you are going to make it. So any other question? I think it will be little bit more of a theoretical kind of thing, because these are all basics. If you are not very clear about the basics, and it is going to create a problem, because I will say that using some advanced analytical methodology is not an indication of a good researcher. So if somebody is a good researcher, if you are taking out the paper and if you are reading it and you are at the end of reading the paper, if you are feeling like, okay, I am getting some kick out of it, means a good researcher is a person who tells a good story. That the story may be a descriptive story or maybe an exploratory story or maybe an explanatory story or even a prediction story. Whatever story you tell, but the story has to be logically arranged, systematically developed. And any novel, when you read the novel, no, why somebody you like Chetan Bhagat, or why we need Vikram Chandra, why we like other local writers, because they develop a story in such a way that from beginning to end, you will not stop. Okay, you will understand everything from first chapter, second, third, fourth, fifth. So there is a logical connection between this chapter, and it will be very, very interesting to read. You will be motivated to read the next one. Suppose if we use some complex analytical process, methodology, and their introduction is very short, methodology is very short, and your complete results and discussion is full of equations. That means that you are not telling your story properly. So you have to use a very, like in any research methodology, even if you use a descriptive and exploratory or explanatory or whatever methods you are trying to use, you have to build a good story. Okay, so there is a question from M.A. Khan. What statistics we should use in consumer behavior? Yeah, I already told statistics is designed based on your research problem and especially the research questions. You are deciding your statistics based on your research questions and objectives. Because from research problems, we are identifying the research questions. From research questions, we are identifying the research objective. For example, I will tell you there are 4 or 5 objectives in your research work. One example is to describe the demographic, personal, and other communication characteristics of the respondents. First objective. So first objective, in any kind of research, whether it is consumer behavior or adoption or whatever, if you use the word to describe the demographic, personal, communication characteristics of the respondents, you are going for descriptive statistics. Okay. Then you are coming, second objective, to explore to identify the factors responsible for factors influencing the computer use behavior of the extension personnel. That means that factors influencing the computer use behavior of the extension personnel. That means that here 2 things are there. First, you have to identify that what factor is influencing. That is exploratory. So you can go for exploratory statistics. Mostly in exploratory level, we go for qualitative studies. Exploratory will be mostly qualitative, and sometimes after that, after collecting the qualitative data, you will be arranging them into using some descriptive statistics. And in sometimes we go up to factor analysis in exploratory. Then third one is, again, I told what are the factors influencing the computer's behavior of the extension personnel. First, you identified the factors. Okay, now you have to identify which factor is, what are all the different factors which are influencing the computer's behavior. Means you identified the factors using the exploratory method. Okay, you identified 5 different factors like easiness using the computers, the respondents' positive perception towards the computer use, computer anxieties, computer self-efficacy, or maybe and organizational support. This kind of different factors you identified. Now you developed scales for each and every factor. There is some quantitative data is generated, some value is generated for each and every factor. Then you also identify the computer use behavior, the degree to which the computers are used by the extension personnel for the extension work. So you are identifying, measuring the computer use also. Then you are trying to identify use some kind of correlation or some kind of regression method between these data. So that means that you are trying to go into explanatory mode. Explanation. In explanation, you will be using correlation coefficients, then chi-square analysis, Then ANOVA is one of the way of you can explain it, and the t-test, pre-post test, and then independent t-test, all these things will come into explanation. But if you are going anything beyond a regression, it is called as a prediction. Anything going beyond a regression, multiple regression, it is prediction. So based on that, you can choose whatever based on your research questions and research objectives, you can choose. Even in one research work, there will be multiple statistics. Okay, other one is Deepali. What should be power words in story building? Keywords. Yeah, if you are telling like a story building, as a method, I will say that story building is a qualitative study. It's a narrative analysis. There are different qualitative studies are there where you have to describe a story. But one is a narrative analysis, or else you can go for thematic analysis, story building. In thematic analysis, the power words are called as a quotes and themes. The quotes and themes in thematic analysis, they are the power words, they are the keywords. Okay, in another case also you will be coming across this kind of keywords is called as a systematic review. That I will be covering in the review of literature immediately after this. So there are different way you can develop the story building. Story building is predominantly a qualitative method. Yeah. That is a descriptive as well as exploratory kind of designs you have to go for.